As a manager or supervisor, one of your most important jobs is to make sure your employees are doing the right work in the right way. That includes helping employees improve their performance and, when it's appropriate, helping them achieve their career goals. So well-written, clear, accurate, detailed performance reviews have become even more important as the employer-employee relationship in our society becomes more regulated and there are even more lawsuits filed. So performance documentation improves the performance of employees, and if it follows the criteria in this book, it actually helps improve performance. So more and more companies have moved their performance review systems online, and the forms and ranking systems have become more complicated. But even though they're stored and filed electronically, the feedback that's essential for performance improvement is still written and generated by real people. So your system is unique to your organization, and this course is not designed to teach you how to use your system, but it will help you understand why it's important to write performance objectives, reviews, appraisals, and other performance documentation that's clear, it's descriptive, objective, and acceptable. And this is also a transferable skill. So writing clear, complete, descriptive performance reviews will help you write more effective email, reports, proposals, and other kinds of business documents. So welcome to the Write It Well Academy. Write It Well has been working in the field for 35 years with Fortune 500s, public utility companies, local government, nonprofits, and individuals with the ultimate goal of helping people communicate more effectively. We offer trainings, coaching, editorial services on a wide variety of writing topics, including email, performance reviews, of course, reports, proposals, general business writing. And again, we offer a process that you can follow, as well as sentence-level suggestions, so that you leave a clear, consistent, professional image with everyone who comes across your writing. Also, our focus is to save you time as you create these documents and to improve your results for, again, every email, your resume perhaps or cover letter, report, proposal, a presentation, anything that's important. You can follow the tips and tools that we offer to help you get the results that you're looking for. So specifically today, we're going to be talking about writing performance reviews, as well as otherwise known as appraisals, reviews, objectives, and other documentation that's clear, descriptive, objective, and acceptable in today's workplace. As we know, professional athletes rely heavily on feedback and use it constantly to improve their performance. Same idea applies with performance reviews. Giving our employees specific coaching feedback will ultimately help them achieve their goals and help us achieve our company's goals as well. But let's remember why this is important. So if you could, please take out a piece of paper, maybe it's a scratch pad next to your desk, and draw a line down the middle, creating two lists. On the left, you have manager, and then on the right, you have employee. Now, in each section, write down 2 or 3 ways that writing performance reviews is helpful for managers on the left and for employees on the right. So on your list for manager, you might have listed some things like it's important for staff to have feedback about what they did well and of course what they could improve. You might want them to focus more on different specific tasks, especially those that are working for the organization. You might at some point want to promote them, so you want to make a record, create a document of what they were doing well, so in case somebody else reads that document at some point, they have a good sense of where the opportunities were and where you had focused as a manager. And to transition again in case there is a change in management. As an employee, you want to know what it was specifically that you were doing well, And you probably do want to know where you can improve. If you're hoping to grow in the organization, you might want to get some feedback about what your growth opportunities are and document some opportunities for professional development as well. But there's always some resistance around writing performance documentation and probably around the review process in general. There are some challenges inherent in this process. What are some of the challenges? Some people find it difficult to find anything at all to say when it comes to the end of a performance cycle. Some people find it very difficult to keep emotion out of the review. Some people can't remember anything specific. What are some other challenges you might have thought of? So at the end of this course, you'll be able to state the criteria for acceptable performance documentation. You'll be able to identify documentation that meets or fails to meet those criteria. You'll use specific, clear, objective terms to describe performance, and you'll support your conclusions, ratings, recommendations, and actions with descriptions and examples. And you'll be able to write objectives and standards that meet the criteria. Our agenda for our course starts with writing performance objectives and standards. After that, we'll move into criteria for acceptable performance documentation. Our third lesson focuses on descriptive language, another transferable skill. It will help you write email, reports, all kinds of documents using descriptive language. Our fourth lesson focuses on explaining and supporting evaluations and decisions. When you're ready to give someone a specific ranking within your organization, you want to make sure that you have all the data to back up that evaluation and decision. And our final lesson will focus on writing descriptions that are specific and complete, that include all the information the reader needs. But how do you collect performance feedback? If you have an entire performance cycle, you want to be collecting information. As I said earlier, a performance conversation never includes any surprise information. So essentially, at the end of your cycle, you're collecting all the information and putting it in writing, information that you've shared along the way. So how do we collect it? Ideas? They might include internal or external client feedback, maybe direct or through a survey. Peer interviews, again, direct or maybe through a 360-degree performance review process. You may have subordinate interviews, also perhaps utilizing a 360-degree process. You may have a self-review that includes some feedback you'd like to include, some results achieved against objectives, something that we'll talk about in this course, and direct observation. So documentation includes everything you write down that concerns the employee's performance, including objectives, standards, survey results, again, comments, narrative that form part of a formal performance evaluation or appraisal. You might include memos. You might have taken some notes. Perhaps you even include some data that you've collected in an app or in a Word document, an Excel document on your computer, or in some sort of online portal. The point isn't how you collect it. The most important point is that you take time through your performance period to collect information. Because one of the big challenges at the end of the cycle is sitting down with an absolutely blank slate. So taking notes along the way in whatever form feels comfortable to you will make a big difference in the quality and the detail and the description that you're able to include in a performance review. So since we're not lawyers here today, we just want to make sure that we've included some legal parameters. As you know, performance documentation must be free from bias. So performance documentation can help you prove your side of a wrongful termination lawsuit. Evaluations must support, or at least not contradict, your reasons for terminating someone. And they should not include promises or guarantees. So again, not here today to provide legal suggestions, here really to provide writing suggestions that will help you ultimately improve the quality of the review and thereby the performance of the person that you're managing. But keep those legal suggestions in mind as we move through into our first lesson, which is around writing performance objectives and standards. Well, let's think about it. Why do we need objectives? Performance objectives are also called performance standards, performance plans. They describe what an employee will do to meet specific job requirements. Clearly written objectives define expectations for the employee. They also provide a standard against which the person's performance can be compared. Sort of like a roadmap. We need to know exactly where we're going so we can be sure that we arrived at our destination. So there are some specific tips for writing objectives. We're going to focus on the results, not the activities. Again, it's the roadmap, it's the destination. What kind of result are we looking to achieve? But we're going to do more than restate job duties. So an objective, a performance objective, is doing more, again, than restating job activities, job duties. We're going to use the who, what, when approach. We're going to talk more about that. We're going to begin with action verbs. In fact, we're going to use lots of action verbs and specific action verbs. And we're going to make sure that our objectives are SMART. Many of you are familiar with that acronym already, but we're going to break it down and show some specific examples of how to write objectives that are SMART. So SMART, as again many of you know, stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So we want to make sure that we are writing SMART performance objectives for our employees in a performance plan. So what we're going to do is start with what the employee is expected to do. So it may be to learn something in order to meet a job requirement. Maybe learn how to change a tire on the service truck. Okay, so depending on the situation, you must ask yourself some questions every time you turn a job expectation into a performance objective. So for example, what are the expected actions or behaviors? What exactly is the employee expected to do? Meet a specific job requirement. What is it though? Set up new client accounts, or maybe it's improve specific job performance, and even more specifically, improve your sales presentations. And taking the last one through, demonstrate an ability to take on new responsibilities. How can we be specific about that? Be able to prepare budgets. But we're going to take that even further. We need to know how an observer will know that the employee has achieved these objectives. What sort of situation will exist if the employee has met this objective? So what standards is the employee expected to meet? For example, how many, how well, how fast, etc. In what situation will the employee be expected to meet the objective? And what's the time frame? How long does this employee have to meet the objective? So we're always going to be asking ourselves these questions as we come up with these expectations, with these objectives. So how about starting with these? Are these SMART? Do these meet the criteria of being SMART objectives? Become familiar with the department's internet usage policy. The question again, is it specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, time-bound? Let's think about that one. How about the next one? Learn the records management system. Does it meet those criteria? How about be able to balance client accounts or be able to prepare audit reports? So we're going to have to do some more work, I think you'll agree, to make these objectives SMART objectives. Okay, so if you were thinking, no, none of them are SMART, we're on the same page. So if you were going to start with this one, become familiar with the department's internet usage policy, and you wanted to make it a SMART objective, you may change it to read the department's internet usage policy by May 17th, be able to answer 10 out of 10 questions correctly when tested. Okay, so we're getting closer. We're applying some of the SMART criteria. I had a client who said, you know, people are going to take this Right Atwell class and think that longer is always better. And wow, then he said, usually longer is better. Now, why don't we write longer performance documentation, both objectives and reviews? Because it takes longer and it's more difficult. But ultimately, including more detail in an objective and in a review document helps improve performance because the employee has more information about what they've done well and what specifically they can improve. Let's look at another example. Learn the records management system. Is this one SMART? No, but you may change it to include more of the SMART criteria. Attend a records management class and practice using the records management system with the assistance of an experienced coworker. Given a set of records 2 weeks after the class, be able to store them appropriately without assistance and with no more than 3 errors. Okay? Now we have a pretty good sense, if we're the employee, what specifically we need to do during this period of time. And why, again, why would we include measurements? I love data. And I love including different kinds of data in all of the work that I do. But measuring is really important in this case. And let's talk about measurement on the front end for an objective and how relevant, how helpful it is for knowing how to evaluate on the back end. Okay? So read these 3 objectives. Maybe using your imagination, can you imagine a measurement that would help? Somebody said, I'd like you to lower costs. You don't have a measure, do you? Can you imagine a measurement that might apply here? Are you thinking about a percentage or a dollar figure? That might help you achieve that goal if there was a measurement, an expectation. Maybe it's improve the expense reimbursement process. What kind of measure is there? How will you know if you've improved it and if your improvements are satisfactory? Or reduce the office supply bill. Again, there's no measure, so how do you know if you've reached your goal? So we've tried this, right? So lower costs. Now realize a product savings of $400 per month per restaurant. It's going to be a lot easier to know what the goal is, at least. Nobody's saying it's going to be easy to meet it, but at least you have you know exactly what the goal is and you can work towards it. Make good decisions to get to that goal. And instead of improve the expense reimbursement process, you want to reduce, you've been asked to reduce the payment cycle from 10 to 6 days. That's a very specific and SMART goal, okay? Or reduce the office supply bill, again, by February. Please reduce the monthly office supply bill from $20,000 to $17,000. You have a better sense now of what kind of decisions you'll need to make and when you'll need to make them in order to reach that goal.